this is your directorial debut as a writer, director, all in one.
Yeah, well, I thought go hard, go home, you know, so put it all out on the line.
And I don't know, maybe Alexis agrees with me, but this is huge because in this case, it's not just like a fiction, but also, or nonfiction. You're covering a little bit of history too.
Yeah. 100%.
We're taking a very brave, I would say, and quite bold and brutal look at the truth of our nation's history, which kind of translates as a universal story for human beings, really.
Mm-hmm. What's your take on the story, Alexis?
Yeah, pretty much just mirroring what Victoria said. Like, it just sort of shows, the history, like a side of history that Australia would be ashamed of and hasn't actually shown or really talked about a lot, which is a shame, because we need to tell the truth, when we do talk about history. Otherwise you can't heal if you don't talk about the truth. So yeah, I mean, things that happened in there, you're like, surely that wouldn't happen, and they've actually happened in history. So well done, Victoria.
Yes, indeed. I mean, for me, it was like a learning lesson. I am not familiar with any of Australia's history. In this case, Victoria, what was your reasoning to wanting to dive into this topic?
Sometimes I ask myself that question. I suppose it's really the greatest injustice perpetrated in this country, and I think in countries everywhere, is the invasion, colonization, the treatment and displacement of the original First Nation people, how that echoes through all our interactions within our countries and to where we are today. And there's so much ground that still needs to be covered. There is so much that still needs to happen for us coming together and healing in all our countries these situations between us as people and moving forward together from there. And the film really is about that. Ultimately, it's about reconciliation and redemption and how we can move forward. But we only do that through looking at the hard stuff, at the truth together, and finding that place of understanding and forgiveness. And that's the thing that I'm always so blown away by is in my experience, First Nations people of color, their willingness to bridge that gap and to have a better life for everyone. And so, that I feel like the film honors that. Well, that's what I want it to anyway.
Alexis, for you, what was it that won you over when you were reading the script that told you, I want to do this?
Yeah, probably like just what stood out to me was that I haven't ever seen a film like this portrayed, especially in Australia. And it was really like a first of its kind. It touched on things that, are really hard to deal with. And as us as human beings, like we tend to shy away from these kind of things, these big, massive issues, especially when it's from your own, like, country that you're talking about. And I guess also just that it was also from a female lead, and that was amazing as well. Like, written by female, directed by female, like had this incredible like woman, this powerful woman, as well with her husband, working together. It was just, there was just so many things there that I'd never necessarily watched on Australian television or any Australian films. So it's pretty amazing to read that.
And did you have to do any training?
A bit of training. Like, we had some horse riding lessons, which I really enjoyed. I would have gone down there every day if I could have. And also like some gun fighting gun fighting. Is that what you were saying? Gun training. Yeah. I don't know if I definitely had to work on that one a little bit more than the horse riding, I think, because my skills in the combat area were not very good, but hopefully I pulled it off there at the end. But yeah, so that was some good training.
I'd say you did great. I mean, who knows? Maybe next it's more of an action film in the future, you know? Then you don't even require that much training.
Yeah, definitely. I'd love to do some more action. It was lots and lots and lots of fun, so for sure.
Yeah, I will say Alexis took to it like a duck to water, and you know, if there was any opportunity to get a bit acrobatic or dynamic with it, she was totally in there, ready for it. So, yeah, it was fun.
It's so much fun.
So when you wouldn't sort of realize that you know, at a lot of the time we were having a great time making the film, you know, even though we're traversing such difficult territory, and those particular scenes were different, but for the rest of the shoot, you know, we were having a great time together. And I think that joy is infused in there somehow. It comes in the lightness that it carries you through the darkness in the film. So yeah.
Victoria, for you as the writer, which one was one of the scenes that you forward to putting together and seeing it live, come to life?
Oh, well, I was really looking forward to the bar shootout, I have to say. You know, because I that was just an immense satisfaction for me watching that. And I still, to this day, I mean, I've seen the film and you know, through the editing process and everything 1,000 times, but still I love that scene. And because there is that sort of there's a bit of humor in there, and there's the total satisfaction of seeing Jara just blaze away. But then what Alexis brought to it after the shooting stops, and what we see the result of that violence and what that does to her, I think the juxtaposition and the flip side of that is so incredibly powerful, because we never get to see that in action films. You know, it's always guns blazing, or it's cool, or it's this, or it's that. And we never stop to feel what it does to us to engage in violence like that and to cheer for violence. And I really wanted the audience to be cheering through that violence, but then be with her and actually feel the weight of what that does. And I think that's the most powerful moment in the film for me, is when Alexis as Jara sees that and has that revelation of expressing that feeling. I think it gives me goosebumps even now talking about it. It's so powerful.
I'm gonna put you in a spot for a moment, Victoria. How did you know Alexis was the one to play this role?
Well, that's not putting me on the spot at all. I wrote the role for her. We had made a short film called Miro, and Alexis had a small part in that film. It was a male-driven film. It had a male lead, and it was really sort of all centered around him. But her performance in just a couple of scenes was so powerful. I highly recommend watching it. It's on Omeletto on YouTube. It's just an incredible performance. And I wanted to write something that she could just really get into and explode that talent. And so, and also I wanted to know about the female, delve into the female experience at that time. So yeah, it was a perfect storm. Fortunately, she wanted to do it, so I was the lucky one.
Now, can you tell me about the location where the shooting took place? I understand well, I got to see what a beautiful landscape it was. That's where you're from, Victoria, and being able to capture that and treasure in a film, especially after the fires that went on.
Yep, it's it really, this film kind of forced itself into the world. It happened. It was like a locomotion, and it wasn't even how we're going to make this film happen. It was like there was no stopping it. And looking back now, when we've captured this ancient rainforest, pristine, this incredibly rich world, and with First Nations people of the area actually being in that space and performing in that space. And then not long after we finished shooting, the fire came and destroyed everything. Like, that world is gone. It doesn't exist anymore. And to have captured that, I just feel like there were forces of spirit at work that made sure that we could see this. And that's yet another layer to the film, talking about the loss of this planet that we're currently experiencing. And that is a climate change driven fire. And we have to address it. So it's another layer that's even I wasn't even aware of through the making of it, that was about to be. So yeah, I will say it was pretty hard in the editing suite, because the Papua New Guinea scenes in the jungle, like literally that's right behind me now. Our house was the only house that survived on our mountain, that fire. Everything was gone. And so yeah, it was very hard.
Very heartbreaking.
And still, yeah, it's really heartbreaking, and still is in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Well, we're glad your home is safe. You survived. And to start, to start wrapping up, is there something you can both share that we'll be seeing you in, maybe working on?
Alexis, I'll let you go first.
I just finished filming another feature that was shot in New South Wales as well, in Newcastle. I'm not sure like what platforms it's going to be on, but if you follow my social media, I'll definitely update everybody when it's out.
Great. And for you, Victoria?
Well, the life of a writer-director in the indie space has taken a hit, let's just say, through the pandemic times, but it has given me the opportunity to focus on a couple of projects that I'm very passionate about, and we're sort of working on getting up now. One is a sci-fi that does encompass climate change, and the fundamental premise is don't screw up the earth, because as much as you might like to think you can go to another planet like Mars or somewhere and create this new life for humans, it ain't gonna happen. So protect what we've got. And the other one is a sort of a supernatural thriller, but the fundamental premise of that is around believing women when they come forward and speak. It's sort of built on that Cassandra mythology of the woman who could see the future but was cursed that no one would ever believe her. And I think that's something that's in the zeitgeist, and that we really need to be talking about now too, is the veracity of women and taking them seriously when they speak up.
Well, great. Well, thank you so much for your time and talking about the flood. People are going to be enjoying it and learning from it just like I did.